What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Monday morning Comically Boston podcast where we discuss the weekly nerdy news and everything that happened in the last week in nerdom. I'm your host, Big Cam. Welcome back. Thank you guys so much for clicking on the video. Last week we discussed a little bit of news, and this week we got a little bit more news. So last week I think we were discussing like Predator Badlands being #1 and a whole bunch of different topics. Now there's a new #1 movie at the box office. There's some Marvel news, a little bit of DC news, and at the end of today's video we will be ranking Marvel's Infinity Saga. Like our friends over at Phase Hero just hit their 100th episode, and this is their merch for their 100th episode. Shout out Jamie, Aaron, Jenna, and BD over there at Phase Hero, the absolute legends, my actual Fantastic Four. If you know, you know. But yes, towards the end of today's video, we will be ranking the Marvel Infinity Saga. So we'll go through the 23 options that are available and what my ranking is, and I had a couple friends that I reached out to get their rankings, so we'll, give their top 5s or top 10s or whatever we end up doing. But let's jump right on into the weekly nerdy news with a new movie poster for Avatar: Fire and Ash coming to theaters December 19th, and this poster looks like the nomad tribes, little creatures flying overboard, with also Loak and I don't remember her name. I think I have to go back and brush up on Avatar 2. But yeah, his little girlfriend and Jake Sully's son, Loak, there, flying on the back of an Ikran, and that's very cool. I think Bailey Bass is the girl that plays her, but what is her character's name? I'm blanking on it at the moment. But yeah, definitely going to be seeing Avatar: Fire Ash in December. Are you going to be seeing Avatar: Fire and Ash? Are you a fan of the first 2 Avatar movies? I'd love to hear those types of things down in the comment section below. A new movie that's out currently in theaters right now that I wanted to go see over the weekend, but the theater seats were sold out, pretty much everything except the front row. I don't know about y'all. I'm not going to see a movie in the front row. I have patience. I can wait until next weekend, and hopefully the theaters won't be as sold out. And if they are, I'll just keep waiting, and eventually if I have to, I'll watch it at home. Although I really want to see The Running Man in theaters. This new poster here, survive 30 days while the world hunts you down. And this is obviously a remake of the Running Man of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s, and I believe this is also a Stephen King book. So yeah, any people that saw The Running Man out there, is it any good? Should I go check that out? And also another movie that I want to go to theaters, but is currently now #1 movie in the world, beating out Predator Badlands, that was last week's #1 movie in the world. Now You See Me, Now You Don't, or Now You Three Me, as you know some people in the film calling it, Dave Franco. I also want to go see Now You See Me, Now You Don't in theaters. I really liked the first 2 Now You See Me movies. They're like, a good mix of like this heist movie with also like this magic, thrilling movie. And, there's some crazy special effects, but also just like some crazy tricks that they're able to do with magic and, card tricks or whatever they're doing. And, very entertaining movies, a very good cast, and it looks like they added some new young bucks to the cast that they're calling the Ponies, because it's the original 4 horsemen, and now the Ponies are these new kids coming in, and, Morgan Freeman's back, so I'm thinking that movie's gonna be really good, and apparently #1 movie in the world, so it's gotta be good, right? If everyone's going to see it. But comment below, are you somebody that watched the Now You See Me movies? Are you going to go see Now You See Me 3 in theaters? Let me know. A new series, or a new season for the series, The Night Manager, starring Tom Hiddleston, and it says, "The past is a deadly weapon." And Tom Hiddleston's great, and I've heard he's phenomenal as the Night Manager in this show. And it looks like a new season, maybe season 2, I think, is coming January 11th. Start out 2026, a new TV show for Mr. Tom Hiddleston. Hopefully, he'll be back as Loki, and he'll probably be back as Loki in Avengers Doomsday. But how much of a role, we don't know. Is he going to be stuck to that throne holding on to the timelines from Loki, or is he going to be, a bigger character going into the Avengers Doomsday movie, more like a hero? Who knows? a movie poster for a movie that looks very interesting called Merv. It has this cute little puppy with a bow tie on front of it. It also has Charlie Cox and Zooey Deschanel, and this movie appears to be coming to Amazon Prime December 10th, and it looks like it's going to be a holiday film. And I think the description I read for this is that Charlie Cox and Zooey Deschanel are like a divorced couple, and they're going on a road trip to cheer up their dog. And I think in the process of trying to cheer up their dog going on this road trip, they end up falling back in love together, and it looks like there's mistletoe between them, so maybe it's like a holiday, you know, rom-com type of deal. I love Charlie Cox. Zooey Deschanel is gorgeous, so like I'm sure this is gonna be great. You know, it's gonna be weird for me to see Charlie Cox as anything other than Daredevil, but hey, it is what it is. And we definitely got some Daredevil news coming up in a little bit. But jumping over to some other Marvel news, being asked in an interview just recently, Ryan Coogler confirmed that the next film he shall be working on is Black Panther 3, is the next one that he wants to work on to, like, you know, the next one coming out for Ryan Coogler, coming off of Sinners, is going to be Black Panther 3. And from the brief information we know about Black Panther 3, Denzel Washington is apparently going to be playing a big role in Black Panther 3, and I'm wondering if Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars maybe introduces a new Black Panther, maybe played by Damson Idris, and maybe that is the Black Panther that will be the star of Black Panther 3 along with Denzel Washington. You know, maybe it's like a multiversal thing, and we're leaving the old T'Challa and, you know, Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa and Shuri and, you know, that universe to be its own thing, and then we're going to have this new Black Panther in this other universe. And maybe at the end of Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars, the, you know, alternate timelines get turned into a new timeline, and we're able to have, you know, a new Tony Stark, a new X-Men, a new, you know, whatever we need, and, you know, new Black Panther, and still be able to have like Shuri, but be able to bring back Queen Ramonda, a new Black Panther, and have the characters around that we may have killed off in the previous movies, or, you know, they passed in real life like Chadwick Boseman, but you're still able to have these characters moving forward and not have to, you know, retcon or undo everything you did. You know, if there's going to be this new universe after the Avengers movies, I think it's all justifiable. You know, you can have this new Black Panther, it shouldn't be a big deal. Or, you know, is it going to be Shuri and that new young kid T'Challa will be aged up by Black Panther 3 and he'll be the new Black Panther or whatever? I don't know. But either way, Ryan Coogler's a phenomenal filmmaker, so coming off of Sinners, I do not want to be the person giving him notes going into Black Panther 3. I'm just going to let that man ride, you know what I mean? Like, whatever he wants to do, let him have it. As long as Ludwig Göransson is coming back as the composer and the person doing the score for his Black Panther movie, I'm in. Now, a trailer that got released last week that I didn't necessarily get to break down for the channel, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks pretty good, and I really liked the first Super Mario Bros. Movie. So now the Super Mario Bros. Galaxy movie, or Super Mario Galaxy movie, is going to be coming out, and the trailer just came out last week. Comment below your thoughts on that trailer. You know, I think Benny Safdie's playing Bowser Jr. They have Jack Black in like a little container because he got shrunk down by, I think, one of those smaller mushrooms, but I'm sure he'll get, you know, unleashed to this movie again, and Jack Black will be very funny, and Benny Safdie is supposed to be like his son, friggin' Bowser Jr., and he's supposed to be like the big bad of this one, I think. And there was also this other poster that got released, and I think I've played either Super Mario Odyssey, or maybe I was playing Galaxy a little bit on my Switch that I had gotten and just never played again. But the Super Mario Galaxy movie poster here, and it looks like this like upside down pyramid in the center there, and I believe this is like one of the maps on one of the worlds that you can go to, and you can see Luigi and Mario there with like goggles and like these ponchos on, and it says only in theaters in April. So I'm definitely going to be seeing this one. I loved how the first movie looked. I loved how colorful but yet perfect and crisp the animation style was, and, you know, the cast being funny as hell, and Chris Pratt as Mario, some people don't really like, but I think it works. But even better, like Charlie Day as Luigi, or, you know, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. You know, some of these other people are perfect. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. wicked funny, you know, and apparently he's getting his own solo movie as well. But Super Mario Galaxy movie coming in April, and maybe that movie will make $1 billion again next year. Who knows? But a movie coming in 2026 that is probably most people's most anticipated movie of the year, and we have a Empire exclusive preview, a 2026 Empire preview here for some of the warriors and their armor for, I believe, what is his name? Odysseus in the Odyssey, played by Matt Damon, and you can see his standing right up front there, Matt Damon with his big red mohawk and what are those, gladiator like Roman helmets. But yeah, very interesting. They gave us a couple of other images, and another one like that was a close-up of Matt Damon that I didn't grab, one of like Anne Hathaway and one of I think somebody else, but the only other image I grabbed from the Odyssey preview images was this one of Tom Holland here, and looking in good shape but also looking very handsome. And I think the Odyssey movie, you know, it's going to be about Odysseus and Matt Damon's character, but I think I heard from the book that whatever character Tom Holland's playing is actually the star of the movie, and I think Zendaya's in here. I think Anne Hathaway might be his mom, and Odysseus might be his father, maybe. You know, so like it's Anne Hathaway, Matt Damon, and then Tom Holland's is their child, and then I think maybe the person with Tom Holland might be Zendaya in there, and also in this movie might be Pattinson, I think. But John Bernthal's in there. Like, I think the cast for the Odyssey is absolutely ridiculous in summer of 2026. Much like Barbie and Oppenheimer, I'm sure there will be something in the Odyssey for 2026. If not just Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey making $1 billion for a 3-hour movie that has no business making $1 billion. Making a 3-hour movie like Oppenheimer or The Odyssey and making $700-800 million. Incredible feats for a filmmaker like Christopher Nolan, you know, bringing people back to the theater when people do not want to go to the theaters. And, you know, when the movies are good enough, they'll get them there, you know what I mean? Like, if the movie's good enough, butts will be in seats. But comment below your thoughts on The Odyssey, you know, and there's Empire exclusive previews. Do you hope we see a trailer pretty soon for The Odyssey? I would guess maybe the Super Bowl, but maybe sooner, maybe around Christmas. I don't know. I feel like we have to be getting a trailer pretty soon for that. And, you know, I think there was a teaser trailer that was released only in theaters, but like, I'm sure something for that's got to be coming out soon. But speaking of the 2026 Empire previews, another one just got released right before I clicked record for this video. So I was like, all right, I'll throw it in there. But the Empire 2026 preview for Daredevil Born Again is this shot that many of us have seen already from behind the scenes people with the long, you know, lens cameras. But Charlie Cox's Daredevil in his black Daredevil suit with the red DD on his chest. Now I'm curious to see, you know, how he gets this black suit or why he gets this black suit. You know, like, there's got to be a reason. He's got to be getting stealthy, or he's got to be like, you know, more in the shadows. You know, I can't be in this bright red suit. I don't want people seeing me fighting crime. I need to be stealthy, you know, that type of thing. Or is it just like, you know, the red used to be the devil and now the black is the hate in me, or, you know, something. There's got to be some type of story reason for why the suit is black and why he now has the red Daredevil logo on his chest. And if not, I mean, it's just really cool that this is now the suit we get. And once Hot Toys drops this version of Daredevil with the black suit and the red DDs on the chest, I am totally going to be copying that for sure. Which is actually a pretty good transition, because just the other day, Hot Toys released a Predator Badlands figure for Deck and Thia, and of course I had to order that. But they also released these two comic book covers for Predator Badlands. It's going to be prequel comics setting the tone of like how Deck got to where he was at the beginning of this movie, and maybe giving us more of a background on Genna. And this is one of the covers with like Deck with the sword behind him, and it looks like he's, you know, gonna jump and swing it at some type of machine thing. And then there's this other comic book poster where you got some of Deck's yellow or green blood spewing all over him. He's got the sword out in front of him, much more of a comic book 20th Century Studios design. But yeah, pretty cool. Marvel, I would love to see like a, you know, Predator versus Avengers type thing, but like Deck Predator Badlands versus Avengers, that'd be sick. But the Hot Toys figures that I was just talking about, the two interchangeable styles of sculpted hair, one of them looks like it's just going to be behind him. And I hope the sculpted hair, even though it's sculpted, it's more like the feral predator's hair, where it's like these long dangly tendrils, and if you put the head this way, you know, you can change how they dangle, where the hair on the right looks like more of like he's jumping, leaping down, and you want it to be waving in the wind behind him. That's probably sculpted still, but the other hair I hope is a little bit more, you know, drapey, and you can have it the way you want to have it, kind of like the feral predator. And maybe that's the case, because you can see like the screaming head sculpt on the right there for Deck, and a little bit of the hair is like coming down the side, and then the head on the left with Thia on his back doesn't have the hair on the side or on, you know, the shoulder. It's more all behind him as he's holding like the folded up bow and arrow, and you can see the folded up sword on his belt there. Yeah, not a bad looking figure. I really like the look of Deck, and I really like the look of Thia. And you can see some of the other accessories he comes with there. It looks like a gun, the predator claws. The only thing I'm seeing is that the base he comes with is pretty like, you know, like pretty shit base. Like it could be like a display base, it could be really cool, but instead it's just like a normal rectangle base. It is what it is. But you also get the helmet, you get the magnetically attachable Thia to the back, or I think she attaches to his hand, and then like you can have her being held on the back or held right in front, or I'm sure you could put her hands down by the side and have her holding herself up like, all right, and have fun on your journey. But yeah, two display modes, handheld and on Deck's back. I would probably go for Deck's back, and you know, just kind of have them at like an angle so they're both looking at the target, or just have her hands up behind him like, all right, you're on the hunt. What should I be doing? Like that movie was like, I expected to really like Predator Badlands. I was not expecting it to be so funny. Like, and my roommate hates everything. He's such an Eeyore about things, and he loved Predator Badlands. When I was talking about going to the movies last weekend to go see Running Man or Now You See Me, Now You Don't, he was like, should we just see Predator Badlands again? He's never ever wanted to see something again in theaters again, and he was down. I was like, I should have jumped on it and been like, yeah dude, let's go see Predator Badlands again. That was a great time. But yeah, this is probably the look I'll have. Deck, you know, with Thia strapped to his back with the like vines around their shoulders, and you know, he has got his closed mandibles right here, but I'll probably have his roaring mandibles, maybe even closed mandibles with the mask, you know, but he loses that mask pretty quick, and he doesn't end up having it for most of the rest of the movie. And also something that I love about Predator Badlands is that he's not invisible the whole frickin' movie. You know what I mean? Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is the stupid cloaking tech. You know, it's dope, but it's also like, why make the coolest looking characters and then make them invisible? It's like my one gripe with the Predators, but like, at least they're not the aliens. Predators though, cool as fuck. That sword looks cool as hell. The shoulder armor detail, the texture on the face. The pictures are hiding the seams pretty well for the interchangeable mandibles, but who knows, maybe it's, you know, two different heads, and it's like, you know, the wavy hair with the, you know, roaring mandibles. I would think that it's got the seam much like the feral predator, and sometimes that seam looks awful, but just from the images they released, the seam looks almost invisible, and, you know, maybe blended in quite well. Maybe I am seeing it a little bit right by like the eyes. Maybe in person it doesn't look as good, but in the pictures, this figure looks really, really good, and I think it's not going to release until 2026, almost 2027. So, you know, who knows? Maybe Dan Trachtenberg will have another Predator movie already in the works or already releasing by the time this comes out, but cannot wait to get my hands on this Predator figure. But jumping into some DC news before we end it out with the Marvel Infinity Saga ranking, a Jimmy Olsen TV series is officially in the works with Dan Perrault and Tony Yacenda from American Vandal will serve as showrunners. I've never seen American Vandal. Is it any good? But follows the reporters tackling cases involving superpowered individuals and villains. And Gorilla Grodd will be involved. And this was reported by Hollywood Reporter, so it seems like a pretty legit source. And then I heard another thing going around that like this TV show will be called DC Crime, and then James Gunn debunked that, like, nope, I don't even know why that would be a thing. That's a terrible name, and it's weird. Like, weird that that's the name that people came up with, DC Crime. But yeah, so that series will be coming to HBO Max from the American Vandal duo, and first season will be focused on Gorilla Grodd. And I don't know how true this is, but, you know, I doubt it will be just called Jimmy Olsen. And there was also reports that, like, Lex and Lois are not supposed to be there, so maybe it's a Daily Planet, but Lex and Lois aren't there. Maybe it's a Jimmy Olsen. Maybe it's like a Mr. Terrific show and Jimmy Olsen's there, but like Mr. Terrific is actually the name of the show, you know, and this is just like a distraction. Oh, it's a Jimmy Olsen show, you know, like I can see people watching that, but I don't know how popular it would be, you know, and I don't know if Jimmy Olsen out of the people in that movie was the people we wanted to see the most, you know, like I think people are clamoring for that Justice Gang and Mr. Terrific. And to be honest with you, where is the Justice Gang Hot Toys figures? Like I would get not only Hawk Girl, I would get Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific so freaking fast. Like, I would order those, like, lickety fucking split. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, come on. Stop fucking around, Hot Toys. Give us the Mr. Terrific. Oh, I need it. Another project, though, confirmed to be in the works with James Gunn will be an executive producer for with DC Studios, because this is a DC Studios project and people don't even realize it, but V for Vendetta, which was a movie back in 2006, I believe, starring Hugo Weaving and Natalie Portman. And I saw this movie a couple years ago and absolutely loved it. Freaking remember the 5th of November. And the mask of a V and like the long hair, the hat, the whole look of him. I really dug the vibe of this guy. So now there's going to be a new V for Vendetta TV series in the works with HBO and DC, with James Gunn executive producing. You know, I doubt he'll write that show, but you know, he'll probably just look it over and be like, yeah, no, this is good to go out. It's not stepping on any of the other toes in the DC universe. So I'm guessing V for Vendetta will be an Elseworlds TV show, kind of like The Penguin, but this Jimmy Olsen show could be more of a DCU proper show, kind of like Peacemaker Season 2 was, and maybe Lanterns and whatever else TV shows they have in the works. And then I saw going around over the weekend that it was confirmed, and I'm not sure where, because I didn't see it, you know, come out of James Gunn's mouth. Maybe he was with an interviewer somewhere, and then this went just viral immediately. But I think it's been confirmed that Brainiac is indeed the villain for Man of Tomorrow, which we did know, and we had like speculated just from James Gunn's little picture of the script with the brain on it. We were like, oh, Brainiac's the villain. And, you know, maybe we thought he was throwing us for a loop. You know, we started second guessing ourselves, but now it looks like it's been confirmed that Brainiac will be the villain for this Superman sequel. And, you know, if that's the case, Superman's got to team up with Lex Luthor to take down Brainiac. Very interesting, but also like, I don't know if we've ever seen Brainiac in live action, and I really have faith in James Gunn to do it well, but also like, what a weird looking character. Like, who's gonna play that? Like, I'm gonna need a casting before I'm like fully in on Brainiac. You know, maybe it's you know, Chugwoody Awuji, the guy who played the High Evolutionary. I could be here for that, but I don't know. I think I want maybe somebody new, some no-name, or just somebody that you wouldn't expect. I don't know. But I have faith in James Gunn's casting abilities to get the right guy for that role. And, you know, maybe it's a Lars Mikkelsen or something. Somebody that's doing like a Thrawn over for the Star Wars universe. I don't know. But very interesting that that's going to be the main villain. And I'm not sure where that got confirmed. Probably with some interview with James. But comment below if you know where that came from. But jumping into the final topic of today, ranking the Marvel Infinity Saga, and I have the list here for you. The 23 options in chronological order that you can use are Iron Man 1, Hulk, Incredible Hulk from 2008, Iron Man 2, Thor 1, Cap 1, Avengers, Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Civil War, Guardians 2, Doctor Strange, Homecoming, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Far From Home are the 23 options you can use. And going through just my Infinity Saga ranking, starting at 23, of course, Thor 2, Hulk, Iron Man, rounding out the bottom 3, Iron Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Thor, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Far From Home, and Age of Ultron round out my bottom 10 on this list, 23 to 13. And, some of those movies I still genuinely like Doctor Strange still throws me for a loop every time I see it. Far From Home I still really like. I mean, even Captain Marvel, Thor 1, Age of Ultron, I just watched Iron Man 2 recently, and that was still pretty damn good. But, some of these movies just started to get to a point where I was like, I don't know where I can put these. Thor 2 was an easy bottom of the lister. Hulk, it was an easy bottom of the lister, considering during the Infinity Saga, that's not even Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. It completely changed by the time it got to Avengers 1. And really, the Incredible Hulk didn't even become relevant until Captain America Civil War that came out earlier this year in 2025. So as far as an Infinity Saga movie, no, I don't think the Hulk is that big a movie. So the bottom 2, even Iron Man 3, the bottom 3 were really easy. And then from 20 up, it started to become all right, well, I guess I'm just going to start ranking these what I watch the most, what I find myself going to click on the most. And even a movie like Far From Home, I click on a lot because I love the Tom Holland and Zendaya romance of that movie. But, the Mysterio of it all, I don't really care for, to be honest, But Jake Gyllenhaal was okay, But if he doesn't come back, I'm not clamoring for him to. And if he does, great, whatever. I hope he kills him again. It is what it is. But, Age of Ultron at 13, probably about the lowest that movie could be, but still, pretty good movie, but, pretty shocking that an Avengers movie is in the bottom 10 here. But going on to 12, we have a really tough movie for me to put at 12, but it really just goes to show how much I love these top 12 movies, because at 12 is Guardians 2, but that movie just breaks me down and makes me cry real fucking tears for Yondu at the end of it every single time. So yeah, that's why it's at 12. It makes me sad. 11, we got Thor Ragnarok, Endgame, Infinity War. Much like Guardians of the Galaxy, the only reason why Infinity War and Endgame aren't 1 and 2 was, 1, because I thought that was too easy to put the biggest Avengers movies at 1 and 2. Come on, they're great. Everyone knows they're great. They need to be in the top 10, but also both of those movies make me incredibly sad. Infinity War, they frickin' lose and nearly all of our favorite heroes die. Endgame, we win and then still our favorite heroes, whether it's Black Widow not coming back, Iron Man sacrificing himself, and then Captain America, my boy, absolutely getting ripped apart and just being an old man. Fuck that. Fuck that. You should have shown us him giving back the stones. I'm pissed. I was so mad when they fucking did that to Captain America. It was bad enough we lost Tony having to sacrifice himself. Now Cap's oh, well, Tony's gone, so I guess this is the end of the line for me, pal. Peace. I'm gonna go back and make out with Peggy in a different universe. Fuck off, man. There's no way that the time travel logic justifies any of that, The Captain America of the Avengers Endgame really bothers me. But, it also makes me incredibly sad that we lost Tony and him. So, the same reason as Guardians 2, I love both of those movies. Guardians 2, Infinity War, and Endgame. All 3 of those movies make me sad. So, no, I couldn't put them in my top 5. But 8, a movie that really should be in my top 5, and I second-guessed putting it up there, but it is what it is. Number 8, Guardians 1. Absolutely love the soundtrack of that movie and how it makes me feel for this ragtag group of misfits, and yet it makes you feel like a family and reminds you of your buddies, I love that movie. Spider-Man Homecoming, maybe a movie that shouldn't be this high on my list, but a movie that I absolutely freaking love. Michael Keaton's Vulture in that is so scary and intimidating. The scene at the red light where the light turns green and it's on his face. Good old Spider-Man. Oh, Michael Keaton is a stud. And Tom Holland and RDJ in that movie as well. A lot of people don't like that there's a Spider-Man having a mentor as Tony Stark. I think that's the version of the Spider-Man that belonged in this universe that had an Avengers, you know what I mean? If the Avengers came before Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, yeah, sure, we probably would have wanted Tobey to know them too. But Tobey and Andrew came before the Avengers, or Andrew might have been around the same time, but still, you know, Andrew never really got the chance to be, you know, a Spider-Man, really. You know, he never even got a chance to do a full trilogy, where Tom's heading to his 4th movie at this point, you know what I mean? But it was something I really loved about this Spider-Man for the MCU, is that, like, Tony Stark was his mentor, and it made a lot more sense where he got the technology for his suit, and why his suit looks so good and not so homemade, you know what I mean? Like, where at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, it's almost like his origin story. He now is back to being Spider-Man, the faceless hero. Nobody knows his secret identity. He's alone. He's got a homemade suit, and really the only tech he still has is the mask from his former mentor, Tony Stark, you know? And like, Far From Home still bothers me though, because like, Spider-Man should still have the goggles, or the glasses that Tony gave him. He still should have the Edith glasses. He should be running shit. He should be the leader of the Avengers, and like, he fucked all that up, you know? Like, oh god, royally fucked that up after Tony's already gone, so Tony can't fix it. Like, oh, like that. Some of the decision making in Far From Home really bugs me, but it is what it is, you know? Still wouldn't change it, because I like where he's at now, you know, and I can't wait to see what Spider-Man Brand New Day brings us. Hopefully still coming in July of next year, I think. Number 6, Captain America the First Avenger. Now, a lot of my friends and people had this way lower on their list than I expected. You know, like, the love story between Cap and Peggy in this, amazing. Bucky, you know, being in this as well. The Hydra stuff. Red Skull being a phenomenal villain. Chris Evans being a phenomenal Captain America. I believe there's also, you know, some, at the very end of this, you get some Avengers tie-ins with Samuel Jackson being in there. Tommy Lee Jones is the general, you know, friggin' Haley Atwell, Peggy Carter. Like, there's a lot of great stuff going on in this movie, and yet it also is the perfect, like, Captain America origin story set during, like, World War I, World War II type bullshit. You know, like, I love Captain America the First Avenger. Really gave me my love for Captain America going forward. And now in my top 5, probably the best Avengers movie, Civil War, but also, you know, another sad one, because the Avengers split up in Civil War, and that's the reason, like, without Civil War, the Avengers probably don't lose in Avengers Infinity War, right? Like, they have to be split up in Civil War for them to lose to Thanos in Infinity War, so that they can come back together in Endgame to beat Thanos, you know? Like, very great movie. I love Civil War. I love that it's an Avengers movie disguised as a Captain America movie. But, you know, I also love that the first time we see Tom Holland's appearance as Spider-Man in the MCU is in Civil War. Same with Black Panther, which brings us to our next one, number 4. Black Panther. Freaking Wakanda Forever. Chadwick motherfucking Boseman. Ryan Coogler. The soundtrack in that fucking... Oh! The soundtrack in Black Panther... Don't even get me started, man. That movie makes me feel things. It like, made me feel things before Chadwick's passing. Now, if I watch Black Panther after Chadwick's passing, it makes me incredibly sad all over again. But the music, the visuals, the visuals and the colors in Black Panther are so beautiful. And that movie is so good, and I really love it. The only real downside to Black Panther is the third act, you know, final battle. But, you know, the actual movie itself is so good that nobody even gives a fuck about that final battle. You know, like, who cares? But most of the movie looked phenomenal. And honestly, I don't know if I like the suit in Black Panther better than the suit we got in Civil War. I think the Civil War Black Panther suit is the best it's looked, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, you know, they had to change it a little bit for the Black Panther movie, and then by Wakanda Forever, it's not even Chadwick Boseman anymore, and sure, he's got her own suit. So, you know, it's crazy, but that's my number 4. And then the 3 most impactful, but also 3 best, probably, Marvel movies they've done. Number 3 is Avengers 1, just an all-around great movie, and I don't think anybody really hates on Avengers, and just how they brought these different tones, whether it's Shakespeare Thor, an old man trapped in the ice, or this cocky, drunk, fucking Iron Man, bring them together, bam, magic, you know, and have Samuel Jackson talking shit at the helm of it, you know, Phil Coulson, And then we lose Phil Coulson in Avengers, and I've been now in 2025 going back and rewatching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and seeing Coulson in that really makes me love Avengers all over again even more, and really just makes me miss Coulson throughout the rest of these movies. You know, like Avengers was early on, so all the way to 2025 and all the movies in between, no Coulson. You know what I mean? It's like, oh God, no, Coulson's still alive. He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Come on, you know, like we need him. We need our boy. But number 2 is the start of it all, and without this movie, I don't think any of these other movies would have been possible. So yeah, Iron Man is at number 2. Is it really my number 2? Probably not. You know, my number 2 is probably Guardians of the Galaxy 1, if I'm being honest with you. But it's something about, you know, my top 3 when I initially put it on there. I did my bottom 3 and top 3 and was like, all right, now I need to find a place for everything else. And then finding everything in the middle was really hard. But once I got the bottom 3 and the top 3, that's when my list started to fall in place. And I was like, okay, Avengers, Iron Man, and number 1, of course, Captain America Winter Soldier. Whether or not you're a Marvel fan or not, Winter Soldier is unanimously a great freaking movie, right? Like, regardless of a Captain America movie, it's really a Bucky movie. It's about Hydra, you know, and how that's actually been in S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole freaking time. The helicarriers, Anthony Mackie, you know, like, there's such good movie. It's so much good shit going on in this movie. One of the best looking Captain America suits in this movie. Chris Evans, that elevator sequence fight. Amazing fights for Cap in this. And then at the end of the movie, friggin', I'm with you till the end of the line, pal. And that's how Bucky remembers who he is. Bucky pulls him out of the water, saving his life. You know, like, absolutely incredible fucking movie. That's my ranking. That is currently up on my Letterboxd. Big Cam, that is my name of my Letterboxd. I am a patron over on Letterboxd. So go check me out and drop your Marvel Infinity Saga rankings down in the comment section below. I did text my sister, which was the funniest of the fucking rankings I got back, you know, because I did my buddy Langone, my roommate, my buddy Danny, and my sister. And my sister's top 5 was comical. She's a big Iron Man person, so her top 5 is Iron Man, Avengers, Black Panther, Iron Man 2, and Ant-Man, with Thor at 6. And Civil War is 22. Yeah. Guardians is 20. Like, come on. Some of her list made, I was like, Winter Soldier's towards the bottom, and I was like, bitch, Winter Soldier and Civil War are criminally low. And she's like, oh, well, I'm not a Captain America person. I go, Civil War is an Avengers movie. Winter Soldier's a Bucky movie. Like, you can't just go, oh, that was a Captain America movie, put him to the bottom. You know, like, that's just how I know. She's not a fan of this stuff. She likes RDJ, and that's pretty much it. You know, like, she doesn't know what she's actually talking about with the rest of her list. Where my buddy Langone, his list was pretty good. My buddy Barnard, my roommate, got back wicked fast for me. His top 5, Avengers, Civil War, Iron Man, Black Panther, Ragnarok, Winter Soldier, Endgame, 6 and 7. So, pretty solid list, actually. Dark World, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Iron Man 3 are the bottom 3. You know, I respect that list. My buddy Danny, Infinity War, Civil War, Ragnarok, Avengers, Winter Soldier, Guardians, and Iron Man at 6 and 7. A respectable list as well. Thor the Dark World, Iron Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp at the bottom. I respect that list. I respect it. And my buddy Langone's list, which is probably the closest friend I have that we talk about this stuff the most, but he's also a parent and a father of 2, well, a second baby girl on the way. Congrats, buddy. And his list went Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy, Endgame, Ragnarok, Civil War, Winter Soldier at 6, and Far From Home at 7, Avengers at 8, Black Panthers at 9. You know, so I actually enjoy his list quite a bit too. And Guardians at number 2, I was like, oh man, I really should have put Guardians higher. And that's where, like, my brain was like, I could have put it at 2, and I should have. But his bottom 3, Thor Dark World, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, respectable lists here. And if you guys didn't see the Marvel Infinity Saga ranking of Phase Hero, I don't know why you're here. If you know them and you know me, if you know me and you don't know them, what are you doing? You know, like, if you know my channel, in my mind, you probably know New Rock Stars and Eric Voss and those people over there. You probably know Heavy Spoilers. You probably know Phase Hero. Those are, like, probably my biggest 3 channels I watch. Heavy Spoilers probably number 3, to be honest. And then, like, after that, it's like Screen Rant, Screen Crush, you know, Heroes Reforged, any of those other people doing nerdy content. I love to watch these videos. I love to watch the shows or the movies and then watch what people are saying after the fact. And that's kind of what I end up doing on this channel as well. So that's it for today's weekly nerdy news. I would love to hear your thoughts on all the topics we talked about today, some of the upcoming movies, Predator Badlands, you know, The Running Man, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, Black Panther 3 coming out pretty soon, V for Vendetta, a Jimmy Olsen show, Brainiac being the villain of Man of Tomorrow, and please, oh please, drop your 23 ranking movies for the Infinity Saga for Marvel. Once again, my name's Big Cam. If you want to send me your rankings on my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Big Cam, 2 G's in the Big, pretty much anywhere. Just look for this face and you'll find me. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for coming on by and supporting this channel and clicking on this video. And if you would like to support the channel and you made it this far, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and future Comically Bostons and future weekly nerdy newses coming out on Mondays, and you'll get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name's Big Cam, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!